just want to take a second to talk about the product that was manufactured by Lordstown Motors. This is a certified homologated finished product in production, albeit limited production, roadworthy, National Highway Transportation Safety Association approved battery electric pickup truck. Okay? Ford has just announced plans to, I think, quadruple the potential production of their F-150, and they are redesigning their F-150. The F-150 is, okay, now you can say anything you want about the F-150, and there are Ford fans out there. When it drops to 40 degrees, it loses 50% of its range. The weight of the vehicle, I mean, there are a myriad of problems associated with turning a ICE vehicle into a battery electric vehicle, which is what Ford has done. They've cobbled it together. This is a from-scratch, blank sheet of paper, design pickup truck based on Steve Burns' 12 years of experience developing an electric pickup truck. And I just want to talk about this being, in my opinion, a competitive vehicle. And you can see my video titled Gaslighting about the fleet demand for these vehicles. And people have talked about the limited range. Again, I don't want to discuss the range. I think it's an engineering problem. I also think it's a static test problem because the way the Endurance is engineered is not like any other vehicle. It changes from regen to power in every millisecond. And let's just talk about the vehicle. And again, I do plan and want to do a review of the Endurance, but this is, again, the four-wheel in-hub motors, and especially the software. It's just, I have been told by people that have driven this vehicle, it is a sports car. It is a high-performance pickup truck. And this is something the Ford F-150 is not. It is wallowy, so forth. This is a true four-wheel. This has got torque vectoring. This is F1 technology in a battery electric pickup truck. Let's just say F1 technology in a battery electric vehicle platform, which is so advanced and so groundbreaking. This is the holy grail of battery electric vehicle production. This simplifies, this takes the part count, the moving part count number down to 4 pieces, which are the hubs. This is amazing. So hopefully Lordstown Motors can retain this intellectual property or can reorganize in a fashion that can bring this truck to market. I don't know if that's going to happen. I would like to see it happen. This is all speculation on my part, but I did just want to mention that this is the main asset of Lordstown Motors. Okay? Property is not an asset. This intellectual property, this technology, this software running this system, okay, this is one of a kind. And the manufacturing techniques to build this. Now, there are so many advantages to this. I mean, the technology and the strategy of doing this type of a battery electric vehicle does not change whether there's a bankruptcy or not. All right, this is MXUX, and We're going to go over this if we haven't already. Now, this is a piece here from the local Vindicator, Youngstown Vindicator, which is probably the major local print news source here. Some interesting information here. This is August 4. 13 parties have shown an interest in acquiring all or some of the assets of Lordstown Motors Corp. Out of bankruptcy. 4 of those are to acquire all or substantially all the company assets. 4 of them are for different components of the company's assets, and 5 of them are for liquidators, okay, that want to liquidate everything. By the way, we don't know which of these plans are going to go forward or what these details are going to be. This is going to come out in court filings and judgments by the judge. Again, not a lawyer, my personal opinion. Only one, he said, has included a condition regarding Karma Automotive relating to the intellectual property lawsuit between the California-based company and Lordstown Motors. But all are actively going forward at this time. So this Karma Automotive lawsuit, which was allowed pre-bankruptcy, is something that Foxconn was a monkey wrench that Foxconn pushed to put in place to cloud this bankruptcy. I'm going to go over this in a minute, but these are stalking horse protection by the deadline. A stalking horse, so in other words, they have these series of bids. Again, this is a viable company with a viable product and viable internet intellectual property. A stalking horse bidder is the initial bidder with whom the debtor, in this case Lordstown Motors, negotiates a purchase agreement. The stalking horse bidder sets the low-end purchase price. So they're setting a floor for the sale of some or all of these assets. We don't know. This is a reorganization. I think that implies that not all of the assets will be sold. Get the assets. It is not, they are not property based. They're based more in the products and the hub motors and so forth, intellectual property. Lordstown Motors has proposed a August 17th as the deadline for a stalking horse in the sale process timeline. It recommended to the court. So we're looking at August 17th is what they wanted. They have moved it back to August 24. So that's when we'll have some news. And September 8 is a deadline for all bids. So that'll give you a timeline as to what's going on here. September 8 being the critical date. Even in the absence of the karma issue, as I am concerned with the timing of the sales process. Given the debtor's cash on hand, I'm not certain why it needs to proceed as quickly as the debtor proposes. Testimony last week related to the case indicated Lordstown Motors has $130 million in cash on hand. So, once again, I do think Lordstown Motors, as far as cash management and management in general, really have done the best they can. And I think showing that this cash balance, I mean, it's hard to find in my mind. I know others may have different opinions on this. I do believe that the management has done everything they can to protect the stockholder here. That is my opinion. Some have faulted the sale and so forth. You know, at the point of the sale, Lordstown Motors was under attack at all stages and had issued a going concern motion. So, going concern filing with the SEC. So they had to make a move. And this move with Foxconn could have been, or if they reconsider the funding, can be a transformational thing, but it doesn't look like that is going to happen. Foxconn's earnings are down. Apple's earnings are down. Looks like Foxconn is shifting its focus to India, the India market, as well as manufacturing in India, as is Apple. Apple is bombing in the United States and most of the West. So Asia, Poland, Turkey, these are the markets that Apple, and with Foxconn being their Apple being their number one client, is moving towards. Obviously, Apple's emphasis on the 3D goggles was a mistake, in my opinion. Moving forward with their car would have been the appropriate move. They may still be doing that in the background, but certainly no information on that. Karma's attorney, Lordstown Motors, had proposed, arguing it was inappropriate to proceed down that timeline because Karma's case against Lordstown has been allowed to proceed to trial. So, in other words, Lordstown is saying, this is a monkey wrench. It would potentially raise a situation where if property interests would be at dispute before this court, while they're at issue in California, we just think that duplication of resources isn't going to benefit any of the parties. So I think perhaps Foxconn wants to have Lordstown have a cash burn there with this delay. Last week, Race lifted a stay automatically imposed on the lawsuit when Lordstown Motors filed Chapter 11 bankruptcy, allowing the case out west to proceed. And it depends on the motion law and the judge, and we've seen all kind of prejudice decisions against Lordstown, in my opinion, how that case will go. I just want to talk about this. Now, Karma sued Lordstown in October 2020, U.S. court in California, claiming Lordstown Motors stole trade secrets about Karma's infotainment system and plundered a specialized team of Karma employees who were designing it for use in the Lordstown Motors truck, the Endurance. The trial is set to begin September 12 and last 2 weeks. The company is seeking $1 billion, so you can see how this interferes with the timeline of the bankruptcy. As I said in previous videos, I did get an email from an attorney on this case. Not my opinion. He feels it does not have merit. I can't speak as an attorney. I have done some recruiting at a corporate level in the past. Now, it says here that Lordstown Motors plundered a specialized team of Karma employees who were designing the infotainment system. Now, the inside on this is that these employees ran to Lordstown, that they wanted to work for Lordstown. It wasn't even a matter of Lordstown plundering it. But let me just give you my personal opinion on this. Again, not an attorney. But in my general experience recruiting, employees are not chattel. You do not own your employees. Unless the employees are bound by law, and they are not allowed to steal company secrets, take hard drives with them, violate any agreements they have signed, and so forth. However, as long as they follow the letter of the law on these requirements, they are allowed to change companies. And I think this is, I don't know how this case was even allowed to be filed. I mean, as far as the plundering of these employees, I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, of course they're allowed, depending on what agreements they signed, and they perhaps may have a non-compete clause, but that would, in my opinion, apply to them applying with another infotainment company that would compete against Karma, not against an original equipment manufacturer. As far as stealing the IP of the infotainment system, again, this is a legal issue. Depends on what their contract said and so forth. And as I understand it, this infotainment system was completely reworked. And the initial Karma system was not apropos. I think, again, Foxconn in one of their motions said that Lordstown was just trying to file bankruptcy to avoid this $1 billion lawsuit. This is, in my personal opinion, not an attorney, not an accountant, not a financial advisor, just a very weak. I think it was my opinion when I first went over this that this was a lawsuit that was filed in an attempt to get a settlement, to force a settlement from Lordstown Motors to, clear the air for the launch of the truck. That was my opinion. But again, if the law was followed, I mean, employees are not chattel. They are not indentured servants. You know, this is America. Now, California has some strict non-compete laws, but again, I doubt very much if their non-compete said that they couldn't go to an OEM versus another infotainment company. But anyway, okay, this is the latest 8K from Lordstown Motors. You can find this and review it to your own satisfaction on the investor section of the Lordstown.com website. Again, not an attorney or financial advisor or accountant, but this is basically an update on the Chapter 11 case. They've done some ground rules here for having 50% ownership recognized by the court. So looks like they are putting up a prophylactic, or at least a notice so that everyone knows if someone tries to take 50% of the stock, 50% stockholder must file with the bankruptcy court and serve notice upon the parties. So that's if anyone's looking to come in and bottom fish the company. We're going to go over at some point here the FINRA explanation of these bankruptcies. And they also mention the Karma automotive lawsuit that has been allowed, which is clouding this bankruptcy and clouding some of the potential suitors for some of the assets of the company. I'm going to go over that also at some point here. Now, I just want to notice here, cautionary note regarding trading in a company's Class A stock. The company's stockholders are cautioned that trading in shares of the company's Class A common stock during the pending Chapter 11 case will be highly speculative and will pose substantial risks. The company cannot be certain that holders of the Class A common stock will receive any payment and so forth. So, just a cautionary tale. We're going to, at some point in this video, I'm not sure where this is going to end up in the edit, go over this. But, again, as always, Lordstown Motors has always been a high-risk investment and is certainly a high-risk investment now. Okay, this is FINRA. This is dated November 16, 2021. Just a brief overview. Again, not an attorney, not an accountant, not a financial advisor. I just, for the viewers, some general information on bankruptcy. When a company files for bankruptcy protection, chances are its shareholders will lose most, if not all, of their value, and that the company will be delisted from its exchange. That's bad news for shareholders. Now, bondholders generally have a higher, are first in line. Creditors, bondholders. I did note in my research that Foxconn had put some emphasis on preferred stockholders, of which they were the main preferred stockholder in Lordstown Motors. Again, not an attorney. You can review the SEC filings on this and make your own determination on it, whether it applies in this case or not. That is a critical issue. I am not going to comment on that any further than to say you have to look at it in your own way. Either have a financial advisor or an attorney look at that, whether it will apply in this case or not. Final preferred purchases of Foxconn were, of course, they were stalled in the last installment of the agreement. Whether that will come into play in this bankruptcy, I do not know. But there is that. And again, there are SEC filings on that you can take a look at. That may not be an issue. It may be an issue. Now, Lordstown Motors has announced they're doing a reorganization. So this is Chapter 7 versus Chapter 11. Chapter 7 is nuclear, where everything is sold. Everything is finished. So Chapter 11 is a reorganization of debt and a settlement of debts and so forth. Means that the company may undergo reorganization and continue to operate. Chapter 11. Still, Chapter 11 doesn't rule out the possibility of the sale. So, sale of the entire company may be sold. So, it's less than terrible. It's Chapter 11. Now, when a Chapter 11 filing doesn't result in a Section 363 sale, which is a liquidation, however, it may provide a small glimmer of hope for investors seeking to recoup at least some of their money. That's because reorganization plans sometimes include provisions for shareholder relief. Okay? In a small number of cases, shareholders may receive substantial compensation, such as cash or shares in the new company, if the company that filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy was in relatively good health and chose to pursue bankruptcy protection for strategic reasons. Again, not an attorney, but that sounds like what Lordstown has done. I am not. I'm going to tell you right now that this is Lordstown Motors has always been a high-risk investment, and certainly at this point it is. I'm not giving you advice to buy, sell, or hold any stock here. I'm just telling you what FINRA says. And basically, this light text here says that, a plan is submitted and voted on by votes, sometimes including the stockholders. even if it's voted down, if the judge thinks the plan is fair, it can be, the vote can be overruled and the judge can implement it. So, the bad news is Lordstown Motors is filing bankruptcy. The good news is it's Chapter 11. Reminds me of the scene in...
So you're telling me there's a chance?